The hits just keep on coming, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 6 of Squared Circle Radio is on the air. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time joining us, hit that like button, hit the follow button, whatever platform that you are on, we're available on it. Subscribe, all the things. Thank you for being with us. The Young Buck Andy York is with me. My name is Chris Belcher, your phenomenal host. And Andy, it's a double shot episode tonight as we cover the Elimination Chamber and AEW Revolution.
Yeah, it's one of those rare times where their pay-per-views kind of go back-to-back.
Yeah.
And then it feels like they're like 3 months where it's like WWE pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view, WWE pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view, and then we get a break. But I feel like we're heading into that month. But Elimination Chamber was awesome. I'm excited to talk about that and really excited to talk about Revolution and dipping our toe in the AEW waters for a little bit. Yeah,
we don't talk a whole lot about AEW on this show, and not that it's not worth talking about. It's just a matter of, well, I'll just be blunt. I don't watch a lot of AEW anymore. Andy's over here sporting an FTR t-shirt.
I am.
So, but it's just one of those things where, you know, if I'm being honest, like I don't want our product to suffer for something that I can't contribute to.
Yeah, I get that. It'd be like if we started talking about WCW, I'd just be sitting back here like I don't know nothing about it a lot. I know about the major stuff, but
how about let's do this? Let's make a deal. All right. This is not let's make a deal. We're not Wayne Brady here, but let's make a deal.
Door 3.
I will educate you on WCW and you enlighten me on AEW.
Perfect.
There we go. This is why we work well together. Again, if this is your first time joining us, hit that like button, hit the follow button. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you find your podcast and on YouTube. Andy, our Podbean listeners, listen, I looked at these statistics before we started recording tonight. Mm-hmm. Our Podbean listeners, Podbean is almost our most downloaded platform that we are on.
Really?
Yes. It is very close between Apple Podcast and Podbean.
Wow. Shout out Podbean, buddy. That's awesome.
That's awesome. So, shout out whoever is listening on Podbean that's probably in another country. I haven't dove that close into the statistics yet. We do have a lot of listeners outside the United States, a lot on Podbean. Thank you so much. Regardless of where you're listening, just follow us on social media at SQCircle_radio. We would appreciate it. Give us your feedback. We love it very, very much. Let's get into it, Andy. WWE Elimination Chamber over the weekend. What a show it was. You watched it live.
I did.
For those of you who follow us on Twitter, you maybe interacted with Andy doing live tweets for the show.
Yep.
Was your day totally screwed up after that? How did that work?
Yeah, a little. So I slept for 3 hours before, and then woke up, watched it, and then went back to bed, basically. So it was I got 8 hours of sleep. It was just broken up, so it kind of worked out.
That would explain why I texted you when I woke
7:30, 8 o'clock, yeah.
And you didn't text me back for a long time.
I was back out, but. I got up and watched it. My wife made sure to make me tell everybody that she also got up, watched it, stayed awake the entire time. I was very proud of her. But yeah, it was different, and it made me feel more sympathetic to our European friends who have to do this every single time. So I'm glad you guys have to do it every time and we don't, because it would be a chore to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And honestly, there are some years where if there was an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in Australia, ain't no way I was getting up at 4 o'clock to watch it, because I knew it was not going to be worth watching.
Sure.
Whether it was storyline reasons or in-ring reasons, I was like, it's not worth it. Now pay-per-views are worth it, so I'm very excited about it.
That's awesome. Shout out to our friends outside the United States, and shout out to Katie. I'm very proud of Katie. So glad that she was able to stay up, because, well, we won't get into that anyway. All right. Speaking of Katie's favorite wrestler. See, this is why she stayed up to watch it. Becky Lynch wins the Women's Elimination Chamber in her first crack at it. You predicted it. Jared predicted it, which, by the way, shout out to Jared Justice, who was all set to record tonight, and the power went out at his house, ladies and gentlemen. So shout out to Jared. He may be able to pop on here in a little bit. We'll see how that goes, but shout out to Jared. That's why he's not on the show tonight. But Jared's pick, your pick, Becky Lynch winning the Elimination Chamber. A really good match. Honestly, hot start to the show.
Yeah, a really hot start to the show. It's one of the weird years where I preferred the women's Rumble to the men's Rumble.
Yes.
And I think I preferred the women's chamber to the men's chamber.
I definitely did.
It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It was a great way to kick off the night. And it had one of the most out-of-nowhere finishes to a chamber match I can remember, but in the best way possible.
Yes, I love
it all happened so perfectly and so well. But the thing that stuck out to me the most, or the person that stuck out to me the most, and I tweeted this out, is Tiffany Stratton is going to be an absolute star. An absolute star.
Fantastic showing for Tiffany Stratton. She was incredible in this match. Of course, Tiffany Stratton is a significant other of the great Carell Ludwig Kaiser, the best nickname in wrestling. But regardless, I digress. Tiffany Stratton, man, what a showing. You said it. She's going to be a star. Just some of the things that she was able to pull off in that match.
Yeah.
For her first first pay-per-view match. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the fans were behind her before she even got in. Like they started the "We Want Tiffy" chants before she even got in, and then she got in and just absolutely killed it. To the point where when Liv Morgan is the one that eliminates her and Liv gets booed for it,
sure,
Tiffany's going to be a big deal. So I expect big things for her. And again, the women's match just absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Let's not dive too far into the rabbit hole, but I do want to ask you, Tiffany Stratton's character reminds me a whole lot of an updated version of the Alexa Bliss Goddess character.
Yeah, to an extent.
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way. So do you feel like, because Alexa, let's be honest, I'm biased.
Very.
I'm biased, but if you look at Alexa's career, Tiffany did way more in NXT than Alexa did. Alexa never had a takeover match.
Right.
But she came up during the 2016 brand split when Shane McMahon was in charge of SmackDown, immediately competed in her first pay-per-view and won the championship from Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
And then from 2016 to, I would say, 2019, somewhere in 2019, she had an incredible run.
Yeah.
A 5-time champion. She won the title on both brands, won the first Women's Elimination Chamber match, won Money in the Bank, all the things. She was on an incredible tear. Do you see parallels in that sort of way that Tiffany could maybe take that trajectory?
Yeah, I see a lot of parallels. Honestly, I see a lot of parallels between her and Alexa, and also in some ways her and Charlotte.
Okay.
Of like just a freak athlete who's really good. But I think the thing that, because I'm not the biggest Charlotte fan in the world.
Sure.
But the thing that Tiffany is really good at is connecting with an audience, whether she's as a heel.
Yep.
And getting that reaction, but also like making people respect her after the match is done because of how good she is. And that's the same way with Charlotte. Is babyface Charlotte is one of the worst characters out there.
Agreed.
Heel Charlotte is one of the best heels out there. She's really good. And then when the bell rings, no matter what she is, most of the time when she's into it, it's a really you're going to get a really, really good showing. And I think the same thing's kind of true with Tiffany. I can see a massive parallel between her and Alexa and her and Charlotte of as soon as they get to the main roster, they're going to get immediate success.
Yep.
And what that looks like, maybe, Tiffany's the one to beat Bayley if she wins at WrestleMania, or if she's the one to beat Rhea, or whatever the case is. I expect really, really big things from Tiffany within the next year or so.
Yeah, Tiffany definitely has a bright future on the roster. Very excited that, it was kind of a head scratcher that she seemingly was called up so quickly after not a whole lot of experience in NXT.
Yeah.
But she proved she belonged really, really quickly.
Yeah, I think she proved in NXT when she had that feud with Becky. Yep. And then, they killed it. And then obviously, out of pretty quickly, she got called up after that. So I think they saw that and were like, okay, if you can hang with Becky, you're pretty much ready for the main roster.
Absolutely. Somebody else had an incredible showing in the women's chamber was Naomi.
Yeah.
Graves made an incredible comment talking about how Naomi went away from WWE and really found her own kind of style.
Yep.
Not that Naomi wasn't unique before, because she certainly was, but she had never been away from WWE. And she, all of her wrestling experience, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, was in WWE. Like, she didn't do independence.
Right.
Any of that. She learned the craft in WWE. So she went out, found her own way, came back, and it showed, man. I thought she had an incredible showing.
Yeah, she looked really good. She looked like she belonged. Which, not saying she didn't before. I mean, she won the world title at WrestleMania, I think.
She won it. Yeah, she won it before Mania. She had to relinquish it due to a knee injury, and then she won it back at 33.
Yeah, so
from Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, but she, I mean, not saying that she didn't belong beforehand,
right?
But there's just something about, look at Drew McIntyre, look at Cody Rhodes, of leaving WWE as something and then coming back and being that main event star.
Yep.
And I think Naomi's fitting that category. I'm curious to see where they go from here.
I agree.
I think there's a lot of really interesting options they can go with for Naomi. But I'm excited to see what they do with her because she has not missed a step since she returned.
Agreed. We talk a lot about production on this show. And because you and I see these things, and it's awesome. I loved, and they did this in the men's chamber match too, the cameras, showing the cameras in the pod.
Yeah.
And I know it was CGI on the camera for us on TV to see it, and they couldn't see it in the building.
Yeah.
But the way they showed those cameras during the match when they would do a crowd shot, super cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, especially when it came to Logan Paul. Yes. That was very, very interesting. And one thing I do love that they're doing this year too, when they were showing the overhead shot of the chamber and all the people in the pod, their 2K rating beside them as well. I thought that was really interesting too.
Yeah, they're incorporating that. We've seen on Raw and SmackDown as well as a way to help promote the game and stuff. So really interesting that they're doing that because they didn't do that last year.
No.
So that's another technique, I guess, to sell the game. Becky versus Rhea, we know that's the result of winning the Elimination Chamber. Of course, spoiler alert, Rhea Ripley beat Nia Jax. We'll talk about that in just a second. But what are your thoughts, man, on Rhea, Becky, WrestleMania?
It's the match that had to happen.
Agreed.
For not necessarily for Becky, but for Rhea.
Yep.
Because she had that amazing match last year at WrestleMania against Charlotte.
Yep.
One of the best matches of the weekend. And then hasn't really done much with the title since.
Agreed.
But she, in a weird way, she hasn't really had to because of how much everybody loves her, that she could just show up anytime and everybody's going to go crazy. She had the match with Zelina that was really good.
I forgot about that. Yep.
She had the match with... Actually, this is the part of the problem is I can't even remember the time she's defended it other than Nia, Rhea. She defended it against Ivy Nile on Raw one time. I don't really remember any other time. So she needs a big time opponent.
Sure she does.
And who's better than big time Bex? There's your segue. But I think Rhea needs this more than Becky. And that's why right now I'm leaning towards Rhea beating Becky at WrestleMania and kind of in a dominant fashion.
I don't think it's going to be dominant because I think she's going to win. Yeah. I'm not leaning. I'm all the way on the other side already. To me, that's my lock of WrestleMania already. Yeah. And that will still be my lock all the way through.
Yeah.
Is that Rhea Ripley beats Becky Lynch. Why I don't think it's going to be dominant is because this is a passing of the torch moment.
Yeah.
I think they're going to build Becky as the underdog. Becky, in what world are we talking about Becky Lynch being an underdog? But against Rhea Ripley, she is.
Yeah.
But we're building Becky as the underdog for this match, and I think she has to put up a good showing in order for this passing of the torch thing to actually work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't when I say dominant, I don't mean like Brock Lesnar versus John Cena at SummerSlam. No, I think she's going to look like an absolute killer when she gets done with this match.
Absolutely.
And again, I don't think this is going to do anything to Becky because Becky has already solidified herself at the very top of this division.
Yep, agreed.
But I think Rhea needs this to beat Charlotte at WrestleMania 39, go into WrestleMania 40, and beat Becky.
Yep.
She's put herself up there as this is her division now.
I think it's such a bittersweet moment though for fans.
Yep.
Because Rhea is clearly the most over woman on the roster right now.
Yeah.
You can make the argument for Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
And you can make the argument for Bayley on this run towards WrestleMania. Right. But consistently, it's been Rhea Ripley for the last year or so.
Absolutely.
And then you put her up against who was not just the most over woman on the roster, but
the biggest baby face of the company.
The face of the company in 2019.
Yeah.
Nobody was bigger than Becky Lynch.
Right.
So for all of the fans who like Rhea, it's those fans that you're pulling over from the Becky Lynch camp. You know what I mean? So I think it's a bittersweet moment because I think fans are understanding it's a passing of the torch.
Yeah.
But they're sad to see it being passed from Becky.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying, and I don't think we're both saying that Becky is like going to retire after this match or anything like that.
No.
I don't think we're going to see her a lot more, obviously, because she has a daughter who's like 2 years old now, wants to be more a part of that and everything. And
maybe they have another kid. Who knows?
Right. And that, I mean, they should. Like, power to them. They want to be a part of their...
Rollins has talked about the same thing.
Right. And so I think there's going to be a time next year. I don't know if we're going to get a lot of Becky and Seth next year.
Sure.
And I think that's a good thing in a lot of ways because that'll give your Rhea Ripley's and your Bianca's time to come in. But then we talked about Tiffany Stratton.
Yep.
And we talked about Jade Cargill now hitting the roster. And, even Io Sky and Kairi Sane and all those people that are coming in. This gives them the opportunity now to kind of take the mantle and run with it.
Yep.
Because I think after WrestleMania, we're going to be at the point where there's only 1 4 horsewoman around.
Yeah.
And that's Bayley.
Yep.
And I think there's got to be somebody to come in and pick up the leftover or the pieces. And right now in the women's division, there's a lot of people that can come in and do that. You just got to push them the right way. And I think the passing of the torch starts with Rhea, and then we can tell the story of Rhea losing the title at some point and getting somebody else to that level with her.
Yeah, I was about to say, who in the world is going to be next?
Yeah.
What's left for Rhea to do? Let's quickly talk about her match against Nia. You and I are both very vocal about how Nia's just not great.
No.
And I think on paper, it's a great opponent for Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
Then the bell had to ring. It was not good.
No, it was not
within
good.
the first minute, I was cringing.
She went for the Hurricane Run, and Nia just kind of stumbled.
I get that Nia was trying to not go off of her feet.
Yeah.
But I think we could have picked a better opponent for Rhea in her home country.
Yeah.
I get that Nia is a big contender. Okay, we're watching Raw right now as we record.
Mm.
Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley headlining that show could have been way more intriguing than Nia Jax.
I think the thing that made this match what it is you had to get Rhea, you had to give somebody to Rhea who is going to be the bigger heel. Or going to be a massive heel. And there's nobody, I mean, in the women's division, the biggest heel right now probably is Nia.
Yeah.
Because you could throw Chelsea Green out there, but everybody loves Chelsea. Everybody loves this Chelsea character, so she's an ironic heel. She's not really a heel.
Sure.
Nia Jax is that. And so I get that. She's also, the toughest opponent for Rhea to face. I get why they did it. I thought Nia was actually better than she normally is in this match, which isn't saying a lot, to be honest. But there were a couple moments like the Samoan drop on the announce table where it did not budge at all, was rough. And then the leg drop through, all that stuff was great. There were just a lot of moments where it wasn't great. But Rhea did her part. Rhea did the best she could, and she got her moment in front of her family, in front of her friends, in front of her fans.
Yep.
And I think at the end of the day, that's all people are going to remember about that.
Sure. I agree. I feel bad for her because she hadn't performed in her home country in 7 years. And then she's put out there with Nia Jax. They could have built Shayna. And I use that example because they had incredible stuff in NXT.
Yeah.
They could have built her as a nasty heel. Maybe not the biggest heel, but bring back their NXT history and just build that as a big match.
Not going too far down a rabbit hole, but I thought they were going to do bigger things with Shayna after she beat Ronda.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, she beat Ronda and nothing happened.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing happened. So I agree. I think they could have built somebody up like Shayna. Obviously, I think Indy wrestled earlier in the night in the pre-show. You could have done Indy and Rhea.
Yep.
But that's two hometown heroes coming together, so that'd have been a little tricky. I think there was other options you probably could have done, but it accomplished what it needed to accomplish, and that's all that really mattered going into WrestleMania.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I agree. I'm on your side on it. I'm the one being positive about WWE, which is
no, you're the one being positive about Nia Jax, which is
Rhea Ripley, not Nia. I'm not taking up for Nia.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay. Quickly, the Judgment Day retains over Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. We sort of knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was a great match, but Andy, there was literally, I had never had a doubt.
No.
And the ones from bell to bell,
Yeah.
who was going to win this match?
No, this was my lock of the night of who was going to win. It did its job. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
It got Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate over, I think, with the crowd, which is really important right now as they're coming in.
Yep.
And I smile every time I see Pete Dunne because he's Pete Dunne again. So I'm happy with just seeing him on TV.
That's great. Yeah. And I enjoy Tyler Bate, man. I wish he and Trent Seven could have had a main roster run as Mustache Mountain. I thought that was a really unique tag team.
Yeah.
That did some really cool things, but happy to see Tyler Bate getting a shot on the main roster as well.
Yeah. And then the eventual Pete Dunne turn on Tyler Bate, and when they go at it, it's
going to be fun.
It's going to open a lot of people's eyes to what these two guys are actually all about. It's like it's the English version or the England version of Ciampa and Gargano.
I knew you were going to say that.
And it makes sense and it works and it's fun. So just go for it. Next year, I need WrestleMania to be Gargano versus Ciampa, Dunn versus Bate, Owens versus Zayn. I just need those three.
And Gunther versus Dragunov.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. That would forget Roman Rock. I need that for the main event next year because good Lord, those two dudes kill each other when they get in the ring.
Oh my goodness, Andy's dream card.
It would be.
Now. All right, let's move over to the men's elimination chamber. Again, appreciate you guys listening. If this is your first time, thank you for doing that. Subscribe wherever you find your podcast. We would appreciate it. Men's elimination chamber. Drew McIntyre. We assumed he was going to win. He won. We already said it. We both liked the women's match more than the men's. It just felt slow at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just felt. I know Randy Orton's in the match. I get that, but like I just feel like that it was slow at times, man.
Yeah, and I think that was done on purpose because a lot of it was focused on Randy's back.
True.
And like him selling the injury because he was selling it, but because there was a couple times I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell the line.
I've got it written in my notes. I said either Orton is really great at selling or he is really hurting with his back.
Yeah, they did a good job with it. He did a really good job with it. I think it was kind of slow on purpose in some ways, but it was still really entertaining the entire time. Very interesting to start off with who they did.
Yep.
Because it was LA Knight and Drew, wasn't it?
Yep.
Which was the main event on SmackDown the night before.
Yep.
So it was very interesting to do that. Kevin Owens was more than normal unhinged which was perfect. I loved it.
Okay, I'll get to that in a second. You mentioned Kevin Owens. We talked last week on the podcast about how it seemed like I threw out the idea of a fatal four-way for the U.S. Championship at WrestleMania with Logan Paul, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Kevin Owens. I think they could still happen, but it seems like they've inserted Randy Orton instead of Kevin Owens. A good spot for all of them. We discussed that. But let's say that is the case. Are you still okay with it? And what could we see for Kevin Owens now?
Yeah.
Or do you make it a fatal five-way? I mean,
I think they could make it a ladder match.
Add a sixth person, make it a six-man ladder match?
I mean, you could do Randy, Logan Paul, KO, AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Bronson Reed, or who's
Grayson
on SmackDown?
Waller.
Grayson Waller. I think you could throw him in there, and there's your six competitors for the U.S. Championship in a ladder match. We haven't seen a ladder match for one of the mid-card titles probably since WrestleMania 32.
We haven't seen a ladder match at WrestleMania since
33 when the Hardys returned.
No, technically we saw one
36.
in the Performance Center.
Yeah. But I think you could. I think you could make it a ladder match for the U.S. title and just get all of those guys on the card.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would rather see Logan versus Randy one-on-one.
Oh yeah, I definitely would rather see AJ versus LA Knight and Logan versus Randy as separate one-on-one matches.
And then I think you could just do Kevin Owens versus Grayson Waller.
Okay. Or do you somehow get Sami Zayn brought back over and do Kevin and Sami versus Theory and Waller?
Yeah, you could do that. Based off of where we're all went tonight, I think the direction for Sami Zayn is more through Gunther than anything else.
Yeah.
You could also do where Kevin Owens is kind of like the host of WrestleMania, and it's just kind of because unhinged Kevin Owens hosting WrestleMania, I think would be a lot of fun.
That's a good point.
But I don't really know what else you could do for Kevin Owens this year, which is wild because he main evented the last 2 WrestleManias, and now we're like, we don't know where Kevin Owens fits on this card.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it really is. That's why I posed the question to you. I was hoping you would have a good answer. One person that I just wrote down as we were watching Raw and seeing some highlights from the Chamber, Bobby Lashley felt like a fish out of water in this match.
Yeah.
He really felt out of place.
He did.
In this match, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it's because normally you don't have 2 big guys in a chamber match.
Okay.
And maybe it was everybody knew Drew was going to be the guy in it, and so Bobby just kind of being there. The spear to Logan Paul through the pod was vicious.
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely vicious. I don't know. I think since Bobby's returned and he's done this whole thing with the Street Profits, he's had a hard time finding his footing.
I agree.
And part of that, I think, is because of Karrion Kross.
Okay.
And I love Karrion Kross. Everything I think it was Tom Campbell on Cultaholic said this on a video I was watching, and I completely agree. Karrion Kross has done everything right since he's returned, but nothing has worked.
It's so interesting because he was so dominant in NXT.
Yeah.
And whatever he did in NXT worked in NXT. It's just not translating.
I'll tell you what killed it. That Adam Cole promo. Where he said, you get the lights, you get the smoke, you got the entrance, you got the girl.
And then the bell rings.
But all they got to do for me to make me cool is ring the dang bell. And it's like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And so they killed him. Like Adam Cole killed him in that moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else you could do for him.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because like with the AOP, it should work.
Sure.
With Scarlett, it should work. With Paul Ellering, it should work.
Yeah. Maybe it's not going to.
Maybe it's not.
I don't know. They're probably.
He should go bald again. I think that's what it is.
I really think that's part of it. As dumb as that might sound, I think that's part of it. All right. Drew versus Seth, WrestleMania. Could be the main event of night 1. I'm not ready to say that it is because I don't know what else is going to be there. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch could easily main event night 1.
Yeah.
And Becky Lynch steal the spot from Seth Rollins. Again. Sorry, Seth. But Drew versus Seth, WrestleMania world title match. We know it. We've predicted it. But what we don't know is how it's going to end. How do you think it ends?
I think it ends with Drew McIntyre winning the title.
Okay.
And I think he is going to play into this whole Punk feud even more so because his contract status is still up in the air.
Yep.
And I think he's going to pull the whole
I'm leaving
with the belt.
Okay.
Punk comes out at some point before he leaves and takes it from him as like the kind of reverse. I can see that. I don't see a scenario where Seth walks out of WrestleMania with the title.
I don't either. And that's sad, but I don't either. Whether it's now, okay, let's throw Damian Priest into this.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be more upset if Seth beats Drew and Priest cashes in on Seth, or if Drew beats Seth and then Priest cashes? Maybe not that night.
Right.
But the next night on Raw, and then Priest cashes in on Drew. Which one would you be more upset about?
If he cashed in on Seth after Seth won.
Okay.
I think I would be I'm more upset about that because I don't know. Storyline wise, that makes the most sense.
Yep.
But I would still hate it because it just doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right with how Seth's title reign has gone.
Agreed.
But I don't know any other way you could do Priest cash in at this point.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Like he's held onto this thing for so long.
And plus, Rollins has already feuded with Judgment Day.
Yeah, so
if Priest cashes in on Drew, at least Drew can go after the Judgment Day. We sort of saw them interact, but as Drew,
but here's the thing: Drew is killing it as a heel right now.
I know.
So you don't want to do heel on heel. Honestly, I think there could be a way where Seth wins and Damian cashes in, and we don't see Seth for a while.
Well, this is also a huge rabbit hole. I agree with that because we just talked about that with Becky.
Yeah.
But here's a huge rabbit hole. Let's not go too far down it. But Sam Roberts brought up this point on his podcast about how when Rhea Ripley beats Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, she sort of goes away from the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
What if Priest does the same thing? And what if Judgment Day just sort of
falls apart?
Yeah. After WrestleMania.
Yeah. I think it works better for Rhea to walk away than Damian.
100%.
I think Damian needs Judgment Day.
100%, I agree. But I'm just saying, like, could there be a scenario in which that happens?
I mean, I think there is a scenario where that could happen. I think that needs to happen more with Rhea than it does with Damian.
Okay.
Because we saw Damian pre-Judgment Day, and he was awesome. He was great, but he just never. There was something missing, it felt like. In Judgment Day, it is all, since they kicked Edge out, it's all started to click and worked out a lot better, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
I think it works better for Rhea than it does Damian.
Agreed. Totally agree. For Seth, maybe he goes away. I can also see a scenario if he loses the title, he freaks out.
Don't even say it.
And turns on Cody.
Don't even say it. I don't want. That's not.
I'm not.
That
saying,
is not in. We're not putting that into. Bully Ray is already pushing that narrative really hard. We don't need that energy here.
And I didn't even listen to Busted Open, so there you go. I'm not saying he turns and costs Cody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying turns on Cody.
Yeah. Yeah. I could. I mean, I think that's a given at some point. Which I would be fine with. Post WrestleMania.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities with Cody post WrestleMania with guys like Seth.
Yep.
And a heel Kevin Owens, because we haven't seen that yet.
Cody versus a heel Kevin Owens
would be amazing.
Money in the bank right there. Not at the pay-per-view, but
why
if
not?
it happens at the
Why not?
that's fine
Why
too.
not?
It is in Canada.
It is. So
could be interesting.
It could be. But I that was the first thing that kind of popped in my head too, was like, that's how they're going to get this Seth Rollins turn on Cody Rhodes, is him losing the title
and freaking out
because
Cody beat Roman.
Because Cody beat Roman, or he cost Cody the title at Mania because maybe Priest gets involved in their match and Cody didn't come out to help him. So why is he coming out there to things like that? I could see that
easily.
I just please don't let it happen.
I know.
But I don't. It's wild to say this. I don't see a scenario where Seth walks out with the title.
I don't either.
I'll be kind of pleasantly surprised if it happens, although I really want Drew to win this title too, because I think he would. I think Seth brought it to this level, but I think Heel Drew can take it to another level that Seth couldn't because being
now,
over with the fans at this point.
Because now we flip roles. The heel has the championship, so now babyfaces can chase the championship.
Yeah.
You know, we can see a Sami Zayn chase Drew, or we can see a fill in the blank. I didn't know off the top of my head, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Jey Uso.
Thank you. Jey Uso. Which I thought I nailed that pick for the Intercontinental Championship. I was so close.
Jimmy.
Thought I nailed it.
See, now you know how we felt at WrestleMania when
I guess that's true. Speaking of Cody and Seth, Grayson Waller effect real quick. Not a whole lot happened. No. Cody said he wants to face The Rock, which we know. Rock is confirmed for the next 3 SmackDowns.
He is showing up to work, buddy. I like
awesome.
it.
Now, I saw Rock's confirmed. I didn't know if Roman was confirmed for all 3.
Surely if Rock's there, Roman's got to be there.
You'd think. I don't know, though. But I thought at least, this Grayson Waller effect would turn into a singles match, like Cody versus Theory.
We're getting it tonight on Raw. We're getting Cody versus Waller on Raw. Why didn't we do that
because
Chamber?
Waller is from Australia, and they didn't want Cody to beat him.
But you could have done. I get that. I think you could have done Theory
and Cody
because this was nothing.
Right, exactly.
This was the thing I was kind of looking forward to the most, and it was just like Cody confirming, I want to fight
The Rock.
The one thing that kind of made me a little annoyed is Cody was getting ready to explain why, and he got interrupted. So they're teasing that for some time, which I'm fine with, and I'm happy that we're at least playing up to the fact that we're going to get a why.
I'm telling you, I said this. Was it 2 weeks ago that I said this, or last week? That I want him to say it in front of Rock and Roman.
I do too.
So I do too. Now that Rock's going to be here for the next 3 SmackDowns,
I'm just glad we confirmed that we're getting a why.
That we need a why.
We're getting a why.
For sure. All right. That was a WWE Elimination Chamber review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go back and check it out on Peacock. If you're just now tuning in, welcome into the show. This is Squared Circle Radio, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. That's Andy York. My name is Chris Belcher. We are here for you each and every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcast, and on YouTube, and of course with our exclusive partners, Sports Wire Radio. Make sure you follow Tom. He is at Thomas Bryce 2017 on Twitter. Follow him for a complete schedule of everything on Sports Wire Radio. Go to the website, sportswireradio.org. That's Sportswire with a Z. Make sure you use the hashtag All Wrestling Matters. He's spreading that. That's great. That's awesome. Love the cause. Love what Tom does for the wrestling community. Again, if this is your first time joining us, subscribe wherever you find your podcast. Like the YouTube video. Follow us on social media at SQCircle_radio. All right. AEW Revolution this Sunday. I said it at the top of the show. I'm going to say it again. I don't watch nearly as much AEW as I used to. And Andy, what I did watch was still not all of it, right?
Right.
I watch even less now, but this is a big show. This is one of the big four of AEW.
Yep.
They have more than four now.
Yeah.
Probably like, what, 6, 7?
6, I think.
Something like that?
Yeah.
So we're going to cover it. We're going to talk about it. Chris is going to ask a lot of questions. Andy's going to answer a lot of questions. All right?
Maybe.
I do. Maybe. I do have the card in front of me. We are going to talk about it. It seems like a super solid card,
Yep.
as all AEW pay-per-views end up being.
Yeah.
You know, there are many times that we've talked and you look at a card and you're like, this is not going to hold up to the last one. And then you walk away and be like, you know what? That was pretty good.
Yeah, I remember like All In happened, and then like the next week was All Out, and we were like, there's not like anything crazy happening. And then Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks go out there and have maybe one of like the top 5 matches of the year and just kill each other. And it was like, oh, okay. Even the not well booked or not well told pay-per-views in AEW, they're like takeovers now. Of like, even the ones that I'm not super excited for, I'm like, the wrestling's still going to be top notch.
What's your level of excitement for this one comparatively speaking?
Comparatively speaking, it's not as high as some of the other ones, but it's not the lowest it's been either, because it's hard not to be excited about Sting's last match.
Sure.
And also the world title triple threat, I am extremely excited for. I mean, extremely excited for.
We're going to get to both of those, but you mentioned a trigger that is going to segue. Here we go. You mentioned match of the year.
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about Takeshita versus Will Ospreay.
You already calling it match of the year this year?
No.
Could be. It could be.
No. What I'm saying is, let's talk about Takeshita versus Ospreay, because Will Ospreay was just announced as winning the match of the year in the Wrestler Observer newsletter, what have you, awards. Thank you. Against Kenny Omega. It was the Wrestle Kingdom match. Is that right? Because they had 3 last year.
It was either Forbidden Door or Wrestle Kingdom.
I don't remember. I feel like it was Wrestle Kingdom.
I think it was, but like barely.
Could be wrong. Having said that,
you're...
Will Ospreay ran away with a lot of these awards, and I have a problem with it. So we're going to talk about it. I can understand. You know how in the NFL, when they give out the awards at the end of the year, the offensive player of the year in the NFL is typically an offensive player, not a quarterback.
Because the MVP is going to be quarterback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like Will Ospreay winning most outstanding wrestler serves the purpose of what they needed it for, and he didn't need to win wrestler of the year as well. Like because I texted you about this, and you said he was my wrestler of the year as well.
Yeah.
Valid opinion. We talk all the time. Wrestling is all about opinions, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite match is not Andy's favorite match, and Andy's favorite wrestler is not mine. That's fine. Everybody can have their own opinion. But do you see where I'm coming from? Where that could have served the purpose?
Yeah, I do. Because I get the comparison with the NFL of like, you're never really going to see an offensive award go to Patrick Mahomes because he's always going to be in the MVP talk.
Exactly.
So they're not going to give both.
For example, like when somebody runs for 2,000 yards,
Right?
They don't win the MVP,
Right?
They win offensive player of the year.
Yeah, but I kind of look at it like college football awards, of like the quarterback that wins the Heisman is also going to win the Maxwell, because he's
in most cases
he's
I guess.
in that kind of fit. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I think so. Ospreay won Wrestler of the Year. Cody was second.
Okay.
Which
do you have a list on your phone?
I just have the top three of each category.
Who was 3?
MJF was 3.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, forget the argument about
Ospreay.
Forget that I think Seth Rollins should have been Wrestler of the Year. Forget that argument. Can we talk about MJF for a second?
Yeah.
He finishes 3rd in Wrestler of the Year.
Yeah.
He wins most charismatic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yet.
He also finished 3rd in Match of the Year with Danielson. The Iron Man match. No, not the Iron Man. Was it Iron Man?
Probably.
Yeah.
It was Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yet, he was in the worst feud of the year.
Yeah.
Versus the Devil. The worst character of the year was the Devil, which MJF was wrapped up in the whole time. How in the world does he finish that high in Wrestler of the Year, win an award, and be associated with 2 of the worst things?
The same way that WWE can also win, like during the Vince era, they can also win like the worst promotion of the year, worst booking of the year, which there were a lot of years, like 2011, they deserve to be in that category. Sure. But also CM Punk can be like Wrestler of the Year that same year. Because I think while the Devil storyline was horrible and all of the stuff surrounding the Devil stuff, the thing that everybody talked about for a majority of the year was MJF and Adam Cole. And so I think that puts them...
Could they not have just won Tag Team of the Year then?
Well, no, because they split up. I think he has to be... I think the rules are like they have to be a tag team up to a certain... Because that's why the Usos didn't finish in the Tag Team of the Year, because they
split. Okay.
They split.
Okay. Let me... I can't even come up with words right now. I think what I'm trying to nail down here. WWE had a banner year.
They did, absolutely. They won promotion of the year.
Incredible. They won promotion of the year. They won
Triple H won Book of the Year. Yep.
Great. Yep. Fantastic. What I don't get is guys that are topping the chart. Like Cody Rhodes won like the US MVP or whatever it was. Yeah. But guys that are topping the charts, that are as popular as they are. LA Knight is on this list for the worst match of the year, which was not the worst match.
What match was that?
The Bray Wyatt match. That was worst match of the year.
Did that win worst match of the year?
Yes. And that was not the worst match of the year by any stretch.
Yeah. It was one of the worst. It was not that great.
It was not that great, but it was not the worst. But as good of a year as 2023 was LA Knight's year.
Yeah.
2023 had Seth Rollins all over it. Neither of those guys get anything. That's my problem with this award. Yeah. I'm okay. I understand that the Wrestler Observer newsletter skews to fans who might watch more AEW than anything, or more Japan than anything, or look down on WWE for some reason. I get that that's the market. That's what it is. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
But come on, people. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and again, you gotta think this is based off of their newsletter subscribers' votes.
Yeah.
So they're going to be swayed to certain areas.
Yeah.
Which is why the WWE actually won Promotion of the Year this year. I think that shows how far WWE has actually come in a lot of people's minds, that even 2 years ago were anti-WWE, or even sitting back going, okay, like this WWE is actually at a spot where we want it to be now.
That's true.
I think with Seth, a majority of people love him, but there's a lot of people that do not like this character.
I guess it's true.
Because it's not... He literally comes out and just laughs and wears these these goofy suits. I love him. I'm about as big of a Seth Rollins mark as you can get. But there's a lot of people that don't like his character.
Right.
However, when the bell rings, there's only a handful of people that might even be better than him. I think Ospreay's one of them. I think Ospreay just had a killer year. But, I think there's a lot of people that are not into his character. And so I get why he wasn't necessarily named. I think he would be in my top 10 for sure. I don't know if he'd be in my top 3. I really don't. But he would be in my top 10 for sure.
That's a conversation.
See, let me ask you this. Where do you have Roman?
Somewhere in the top 10.
I wouldn't have him high, though, on the top 10.
No, I wouldn't.
I'd probably have him 10th.
For 2023, yeah, for sure.
Because he hadn't done nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't done anything. So I think that's there's just a lot of guys that probably should be in the conversation, but they're not just taking into account WWE and AEW. There's a lot of outside things. Also, though, I will say this. Tyrus was on a lot of this list, and he should have won all the worst stuff. Because Tyrus is horrible in the ring.
Especially when NWA won worst promotion
and worst show.
Yeah. Dynamite winning best show. Yeah, okay, we're done. Can't talk about it anymore. Okay. Let's move on through the rest of this card. We're going to give predictions for all of this stuff towards the end here. Let's talk about the Women's Championship. Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo. A really good pairing from what I know. Yep. Please explain to me the Timeless Toni character, though.
Yeah, so it's kind of when she split off from Saraya and Ruby, she kind of fell into this a little bit. And it's kind of like the Seth Rollins character. A lot of people love her, and a lot of people don't like it, don't dig it. I personally am a huge fan of it.
Okay.
I think she's fallen into. She's a British wrestler.
Okay.
And she's going back to like the Marilyn Monroe era, and it's different than kind of anything else that we've seen from anybody else. I don't really think of anybody else that's doing this, and she's making it work really well.
I got you. Okay. I feel like they tried to do that with Carmella.
They tried it with Lacey Evans too.
And tried it with Lacey Evans.
And it just didn't really work.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
She's believable at it. I think that's part of it is Toni Storm is very believable at what she's doing.
That makes sense. All right, this matchup. What are your thoughts? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I'm trying to think future-wise for this.
Yeah.
Because obviously somebody else is going to hit that company in just a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And it's going to be a really big deal. And I think either one of these matchups is great.
I think it plays very much into Toni, though.
I do too. But I don't know if you want Deonna Purrazzo to come straight in and lose at the same time. I do think there's a way, though, that Mariah May could get involved.
Yes.
Cost them, but...
I mean, I think if you you don't want Deonna to come in and lose.
Right.
But if she wins here, isn't she just going to turn around and lose to Mercedes Moné?
See, I don't think Mercedes goes right into the title, though.
Why would she not? And that's not me pushing back. I'm just curious.
I think there's a lot of kind of the same reason why AJ, when he came into WWE, didn't win the world title right away.
Okay.
I think you want them, or Edge. Like Edge hadn't even sniffed the world title yet. I think it's because she wants to probably come in and have matches with Willow Nightingale and like some other people to build to that spot. Because I wouldn't be shocked if she didn't go after the title until All In.
Okay.
And we did Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné at All In. We could do Deonna Purrazzo, Mercedes at All In. I don't know. I agree with you. I think this is more or less, pun intended, Tony's time.
Yep.
But I don't know where Deonna Purrazzo goes after she loses to Toni Storm.
I got you. That makes sense. I should come to WWE and be with her best friend, Chelsea Green. That's what I think. Let's talk about the AEW World Championship. Probably not going to main event the show.
Probably not.
I don't know if that's been confirmed.
I don't think it has.
I would assume it's not going to main event.
Yeah.
But that leads me to believe that there might not be a title change here if it's not the main event. Of course, I'm talking about Hangman, Swerve, and Samoa Joe.
Unless this kicks off the show.
Okay, then okay.
Because I honestly think I've loved Samoa Joe as champion. I think Samoa Joe is one of those guys that if he's in your company, he should be a world champion. at some point.
Sure.
Which it's crazy he never won it in WWE. That makes me hate the Brock Lesnar Universal title reign era more than ever because he should have won it at some point. But I do think it's time to put the title on Swerve.
Why is Swerve so over in AEW? And you, not necessarily that he couldn't be in WWE, but why is it working?
I think I think the pairing with Prince Nana makes it really, like, it makes it work really well between the two of them. Because we've seen in the past, like, you know, there are wrestlers who are really good by themselves, but you add a manager with them, and for some reason, it just takes it to the next level. Yep. I think with Swerve, though, I think in WWE, he wasn't able to really be himself.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
Makes sense.
And then we get him in AEW, and he's kind of like a John Moxley-esque type character of he doesn't care what he does to himself or to you. And that's why him and Hangman Page, their death match, a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people thought it was grotesque. If you know me at all, it was right up my alley. So I think he is right at the right time at the right place, and the fans are fully behind him. I think now is the time to put the title on him and let him kind of do his thing in the future, kind of pushing forward. Because now, like, MJF's not going to come back for some time, probably. Right. Cole's still not coming back from his injury, probably for another couple months at least. So it gives you enough time to do some other stuff with the world title and with Swerve until those guys come back, and then we can get a much bigger picture at the title.
Lots of rumors right now surrounding Hangman Adam Page and his status for the pay-per-view. Again, we're recording this. Obviously, the show is dropping on Tuesday, so there is another Dynamite and another Collision ahead of this pay-per-view, so a lot can happen. So none of this is set in stone. That's why every wrestling card says card subject to change.
Yep.
But lots of rumors surrounding Hangman Adam Page. Is his ankle injury legit? Is it not? Are there personal problems? Are there not? Lots of things. What is your feeling on the whole thing? And will somebody replace Hangman? Will it just be one-on-one? Is he going to be there?
I think he'll be there. I think part of it, he may have tweaked his ankle or something. I don't think he's actually hurt. I think this is probably just all storyline, him playing more into the heelish character he's been playing on TV a lot more. So I think that's playing into that.
Okay.
If he is injured, I think you just make it a straight up one-on-one.
Okay.
And just let them go at it. I don't know who you would, because Kenny's hurt.
Yep.
Obviously, they're keeping Chris Jericho off TV.
Yep.
For some time.
He's on tour right now anyway.
Yeah. I don't really know. I mean, you don't want to throw a Wardlow in there and have him lose already. You don't want to throw.
Do you throw Adam Copeland in there? He's not on the card.
He's not, but he is all over that Christian Daniel Garcia match.
And I understand that. He definitely is. I'm just if we're throwing people out there.
If I'm throwing people out there, I'd rather have Christian in it than Adam Copeland, because Christian having Kill Switch do all the dirty work and him win the title and be double champion would be amazing.
Still so weird. That's Luchasaurus. We talk about surprises all the time.
Yep.
On these AEW pay-per-views.
Yep.
Very, very, very good chance that Okada shows up.
Yep.
At this show.
Yeah.
Whether that be confronting Will Ospreay after he beats Takeshita, which I think is probably the most likely scenario.
Yeah.
But if Hangman can't go,
throw him in there.
Do you throw Okada
Why not?
in there?
At that point, why not?
Okay.
Why not? Because what's the rule in wrestling? If somebody's hurt and you have to replace him, got to replace him with somebody bigger.
That is true.
Throw Okada in there. Not saying Page isn't a big deal, but a debuting Okada in AEW, are you kidding me? You have to throw him in there.
Yep,
but at that point, then I'm like, oh, okay, give Okada the belt. Let Okada win it.
That was my next question. I'm glad you answered it. All right, let's talk about what arguably should be the main event.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. His last match. I should have put his figure up here with all these other guys. I can't believe I didn't. It's sitting right here. I'll get it in a second. The Stinger, his final match, teaming up with Darby Allin.
Yep.
To take on the Young Bucks for the AEW tag team titles. We've talked about this before. I hate that this is predictable. Sam Roberts said on his podcast he thinks there's a shot Sting and Darby could win. I don't see that happening at all. But I don't know. Like I'm interested to see where they go with these Bucks characters.
Yep.
It's definitely a change of pace from the previous stuff, which I'm okay with. Do you ever see a scenario in which they somehow transition back to their normal Buck stuff?
Yes. I think it could be one of those situations where, like, whenever Kenny comes back from injury, he could talk some sense into him. Or he could, there he is. Or he could, I think you could do something like that where Kenny talks him back into being who they were and why everybody fell in love with them in the first place. However, I do love the characters they have now. I think it works really well. I actually lean on the side that they're going to retain.
You do?
I think Sting and Darby Allin are going to retain.
Okay, so because like last week or week before, whenever we were talking about it, it was like it's a last match. It's done.
It is. I think looking at the rest of the card, I think we could see a couple more title changes. Like, I think you could see the women's title change. I think you could see the world title change. I don't think... Oh, maybe. Maybe Danielson beats Kingston. Or maybe Garcia beats Christian. So I'm just saying there's a lot
Roddy Strong beats Orange Cassidy.
Possible, yeah. So like, there's a lot of, like, not all the titles are going to change hands.
Right.
So I'm trying to think of ones that, like, would be a really big shock. Sting keeping the title would be a really big shock. And then you could have somebody else come in with Darby.
And take Sting's place.
Like, Sting could find an heir to the throne type thing. But I feel like that heir to the throne would be just Darby Allin.
Exactly.
But Darby could pick somebody. Darby could bring somebody in with the title as well. I'm not saying it's like a lock that they're going to win. I think it's like a 50-50 shot. I wouldn't be shocked if they retained.
Speaking of Sting's career, and we're going to do some Sting trivia here in just a few minutes. Just saw on Monday Night Raw graphic that Ole Anderson passed away. I did not see that earlier today, so that is very sad. One of the original Four Horsemen, is one of the original bookers in WCW. He's also famously the person that told The Undertaker that he'd never draw a dime in the wrestling business. Funny how that worked out. Anyway, so...
I told a lot of people that, to be fair.
Sure. Condolences to Ole Anderson and his family. Very,
Absolutely.
very sad. Part of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, all that kind of stuff. Famously was handcuffed to Giant Gonzalez when he was in WCW as Elegante, and that was during Sting versus Ric Flair, Great American Bash 1990.
Oh.
So, fun fact. Speaking of Sting and his historic career, again, we're going to get to trivia here in just a minute. I got the Stinger out here. Do you think this is really the end?
That's the thing. That's the thing, man. Ric Flair has ruined retirements for me in wrestling.
Yes.
Hogan, too, to a certain extent. And Mark Henry, to a certain extent, too, because that promo, man, I watched it the other day, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is where he retired. Oh, wait, no, he kills Cena right here.
It's that jacket.
However, we never heard him say in WWE that one of his matches was his last match, because obviously he got hurt against Seth, and then he never did anything else there.
Agreed.
So I feel like he's one of those guys.
Yep.
Like Shawn Michaels, because we do not talk about the other one.
We don't. No, we don't.
That when he says he's retired,
he's done.
He's done.
Yep. Unless
there's just a can't miss opportunity.
And the only one is The Undertaker.
Yeah. And I don't think either one of them are going to do that.
It's not going to happen.
Because the only other example I have, like, Austin stayed true to it until it was the perfect opportunity with Kevin Owens.
Sure.
So, like, I think Sting's in that same boat. Not saying that he's not going to show up from time to time and do maybe, be in Darby's corner or this, that, or the other. But I think this is probably, when he says it's it, this is probably it.
Well, and two, like we talked about Austin, who, made an incredible comeback and had the match with Kevin Owens and Shawn Michaels and blah, blah, blah. Shawn Michaels wasn't horrible in that match. He just wasn't expecting to have to work the whole match. Triple H. Jeez.
And Kane's mask.
It's
just I need to go back and watch it just to see how much of a train wreck that actually was.
I know, I do too. But anyway, I've seen it once. I've literally never gone back and watched it.
Well, I think we watched it here, didn't we?
We watched it here live. Yeah, we did.
I've never seen Chris cry in person before, but it was...
It's not good. I haven't lost my train of thought here. Oh, no, what I was going to say is You talked about the window.
Yeah,
Sting's window is much smaller than everybody else's.
absolutely.
He's what, 62 now
I think so.
with a bad neck?
Yeah.
Like,
Jumping off the top of the balcony, he's like, it's nothing, though.
probably not going to happen. All right. No, but in all seriousness, I agree with you. Like, when Sting says he's done, he's done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's going to happen either.
Yeah, I don't either.
All right. As we wrap up here with AEW, and then we got some Sting trivia, and then we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys joining us. Let's run down predictions for the card. Let's go all the way around.
Yep.
I have my little notes here. World title match: Swerve, Hangman, and Samoa Joe. Prediction.
Give me Swerve. I think it's time. Put the belt on him.
I think if I had to make a prediction, again, I'd have almost zero context. I'm going to go Swerve as well. All right, TNT Championship, Christian Cage and Daniel Garcia. Could see Edge pop up in this.
Maybe.
Who knows? Adam Copeland, sorry. What are your thoughts?
This has Christian retaining all over it.
I agree, and I'm not even following.
Did you see the promo?
No.
Where obviously Daniel Garcia's father has passed.
Okay.
And Christian's doing his normal,
sure,
you need a father figure thing. And Daniel Garcia looked at him and said, you keep running your mouth about my dad and you'll be 6 feet down beside him. I was like, that's a great line. That's a great way to do that.
I love that. That's hilarious. All right. Christian retains Women's Championship. Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo, you indicated your prediction earlier.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn between the two.
Sure.
But I'm going to go with future booking, and so I'm going to go with Toni.
I'm going to go with Toni just for the sake of I won't say I don't know that much about Deonna, but I feel like that Toni is riding this wave. I think we need to just keep going with it.
Yep.
AEW Continental Crown, Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. Stipulation being that Danielson has to shake his hand if he loses. Is that right?
Yep.
Eddie Kingston is the Continental Crown champion going into this.
I'm going Eddie to retain. I think Eddie needs another big win under his belt. And I think there's no other big win than beating Danielson. So I think that's it.
I agree with that. Let's go Eddie on that one. Both of their former best friends, I mean, kind of whatever. I don't know what the relationship is. I don't think they know what the relationship is. Jon Moxley and Claudio against FTR. Could be a dark horse for match of the night. If you ask me.
that's kind of I think either the triple threat or Kingston Danielson or this one's going to be match of the night. I think those are the three that are right up there. I do think FTR are going to win.
Okay.
Because I think they're going to be the ones to take the titles off of whoever wins in the main event. Or in the main event, probably.
Okay. All right. I'll just be different on this one for the fun of it, and I'll say Mox and Claudio because, again, I think Jon Moxley is the face of AEW, and I've always thought that, and I think he should win. All right, Meat Madness, stolen from Big E, but that's okay. Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, and more names to be named later. I assume Keith Lee will be a part of this. Whatever. What are the rules of this match?
I haven't really paid attention, so I don't know a whole lot. But
cool. I don't think anybody knows. That's fantastic. Who's going to win?
Wardlow. It's Wardlow.
Makes sense. All right.
Have you his gimmick of flexing in the Titantron? Have you seen that?
I know.
Where it's like you know how when you show like the Titantron on the camera is like continuously showing the same thing. It's just him flexing though. They show him flexing and they show it in the It's amazing how they do it.
That's hilarious. All right, International Championship, Orange Cassidy and Roddy Strong.
I'm going Roddy on this one. I think we're going to get to the point where Cole's faction is going to have all the gold. Yep. And I think it continues right here.
I think I'm going to go with Roddy as well. Quick sidebar. Is Orange Cassidy the greatest champion in the history of AEW?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? The dude puts in more work than anybody else, and people still doubt how good he is in the ring. And then he gets in the ring, and you're like, yeah, he's really good at what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has to be.
Yeah.
For sure, especially in the short time of AEW.
Remember we said Moxley needs to go on vacation?
Yeah.
Cassidy needs to go on vacation at some point.
That's true. Takeshita and Will Ospreay.
This could be match of the night, too. And I think it's very easily Will Ospreay's going to win this.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Main event. Tag Team Championship. Sting and Darby Allin against the Young Bucks. We've toyed around with it. Now we got to make a prediction. Who are you going with?
I think I'm going Sting and Darby to retain.
Wow. Okay.
I think Sting's sons are going to get involved.
Okay.
I think they are going to get the job done. I think they're also going to beat the crap out of Sting and Darby after the match is over.
Okay.
So that's how he gets the win, but he goes down on his back still because the Bucks are going to do what they did to him the other night. I think just worse.
I'm going to pick the Bucks of Youth in this match. And there is going to be outside interference. They are going to be helped by Ric Flair.
Oh, my gosh.
So that Ric Flair can turn on Sting.
One last time.
One last time.
You know what? I wouldn't hate it.
That's how it ends.
I wouldn't hate it.
It just makes sense.
It does. It does.
Sting started his career with Flair and he ends it with Flair.
That makes sense. I'm just happy it's not a one-on-one between the two of them, like it was rumored to be for a long time. I'm glad it's not that.
It could have been bad. They probably had to talk Flair out of it.
Yeah, Sting probably had to talk Flair out of it.
That's a good point. I would hope that Sting would have talked Flair out of it. All right, good stuff. AEW Revolution coming at you this weekend, and we'll recap it next Tuesday on Squared Circle Radio. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you find your podcast. Hit your notifications bell on the YouTube channel, like the video, all the things. That way you know whenever we release a new episode. Or you could just remember it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. Before we get out of here, let's celebrate the Stinger just a little bit more and play some Sting trivia.
Yep.
Always got to end our shows with a little bit of trivia. And because I'm the Sting expert of the crew, I've come up with the questions. We'll see how many Andy can get. What do you think, Andy? How are you feeling about this?
Not confident at all. As we were talking about before we hit the stream, my introduction to Sting was TNA. My introduction to Hogan was TNA. That's how much of a young buck I am. So this will be very interesting.
You are such a young buck. All right, here we go. Question number 1, and I referenced this earlier. Let's see if you were paying attention.
Oh.
Who did Sting defeat to win his first world championship?
I'm going to go with Ric Flair.
That would be correct. And what event, for a bonus point, did this happen at?
Great American Bash. I
Year?
believe. Oh, crap.
Because that is the correct event.
It was either 91 or 92. 91.
I'm gonna not play the buzzer on that one. It was actually 1990.
Oh.
Infamously happened when Sting tore his ACL in February.
Yeah. I remember I've seen the match between the two.
And that's when Ole Anderson was handcuffed to Ellie Gunn.
Yeah.
1990. All right. Good stuff. Again, you said earlier if you didn't know, you were just going to guess Ric Flair.
It worked out.
All right, here we go. Which celebrity did Sting team with in 1990 that he admitted he was ashamed of and even almost left WCW over?
What year?
1990.
What celebrity?
Yep.
We're talking like TV celebrity or movie celebrity?
Movie.
1990 movie
I think
celebrity.
just movie. I could be definitely movie. I don't know about
Okay.
TV.
Yeah, I'm drawing a big blank here. Because WCW and celebrity, my first name gives David Arquette. I'm like, that's nope, too early for that.
Too early for that. Final answer.
I don't know.
I think you're going to kick yourself because you're going to remember it after I tell you.
Yeah, probably.
The answer is RoboCop.
Oh, I did know that. Oh my gosh, how could I forget RoboCop and WCW? Dadgummit.
Oh, I told you you'd know it. All right. Question number 3. The NWO created a fake Sting in 1996.
See, I was born.
Who was? Wow. Who was the man behind the paint of the fake Sting?
Fake Sting. Is this the one you said I probably would miss?
Yes.
Is it like a known wrestler, or is it just a...
Depends on what wrestling you know, I guess. Because in some circles, yeah, he's a popular guy. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
He went on to take this fake Sting gimmick over to Japan, and it was wildly popular. Same guy.
I have no idea.
His name is Jeff Farmer.
I would have never got that in a million years.
It's hilarious.
Jeff Farmer?
Jeff Farmer. That's his name.
Okay.
Yep.
Take your word for it.
Question number 4 out of 6. Sting had 4 theme songs in WCW. One being his original music that sounded like the Ultimate Warriors in a way. It did. Go back and listen to it. The second music was called Man Called Sting. His third was his Crow music after his transformation, but his fourth was a famous song by a famous 80s metal band. What's the song and who sang it?
I know this, and I am blanking on it.
If Jared was on here, Jared would get this in a heartbeat because it's one of Jared's favorite bands.
I've heard this before.
You heard it at All In. $2022.
Yeah.
2023. Sorry.
Dadgummit, why am I blanking? Give me the band, and I'll try to give you the song.
The band
Yeah.
is Metallica.
That should have been just a shot in the dark, because half of wrestling themes were Metallica.
And another hint,
Yeah.
if you listen to the MCWF on the Warzone brand, is Sting's theme song.
Yeah, but we haven't played that since last season.
No, we had it. No, on this season. It's his theme song this season.
Yeah.
It is Seek and Destroy by Metallica.
This is rough. This is rough.
Number 5. Which of Sting's gimmicks has he gone on record saying it was his favorite? Was it Surfer Sting, Crow Sting, or Joker Sting?
I feel like it's Joker Sting.
There we go. Yeah. Sting has said Joker Sting was his favorite character.
He's kind of splashed it in here and there.
He has.
From time to time.
And it's very fascinating what he does. I like it. Did a little bit in WWE too, which is really cool. All right, final Sting question. Here we go. Who owns the trademark Sting? Is it the wrestler? Or is it the rock musician? Who owns it?
Oh, man. It's a 50-50 shot.
Clearly.
I'm going to go with the musician. No! Really?
It is Steve Borden, Sting the wrestler.
Really?
Owns the trademark for Sting.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
That's crazy. I would have thought it was the other way around.
He's a smart guy.
He's a very smart guy.
He trademarked that thing first, and he allows Sting the musician to use it. I don't know how all that works, but it is Sting the wrestler. This guy right here. What a show!
Yeah, shows how much I know about WCW.
Well, I tried to make it a little easy, but
it's all right.
I'll teach you. Don't worry.
We'll have a Ring of Honor episode. And
oh my Lord. Okay. With that being said, we hope that you enjoyed this edition of Squared Circle Radio. Tune in each and every Tuesday and Thursday wherever you find your podcast. Make sure that you like, subscribe, download, follow, all those things, and of course on our YouTube channel. Coming up next week, as we talked about earlier, AEW Revolution recap. We'll catch you up on everything Road to WrestleMania related. Don't forget, Thursday is week 5 of the MCWF. We're coming off of last Saturday's pay-per-view for month 1. And Andy, we always say it, Fallouts, and Go-Homes are our favorite shows to book. So these listeners are in store for a good one week 5.
They are. Week 5 is a lot of fun. We are officially in our first ever 5-week build.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very different than what we're used to. So it's taking some time to get used to, but we're on the road to our second pay-per-view of season 3, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
If you haven't checked it out yet, MCWF is our fantasy booking show. We fantasy book current rosters. So check us out on that. It's a whole lot of fun. Our buddy Tyler Peters helps host that with us. Follow us on social media at SQCircle_radio. I am at Chris Belcher 24. Andy is at Andy_SQR.
Yeah.
We post match graphics for our MCWF, and obviously we post all kinds of stuff too. So check us out on there. And also, who could forget Sports Wire Radio? Make sure that you check us out on there. Sports Wire with a Z. Check that out. Follow Tom at Thomas Bryce 2017. Andy, anything else to add, man?
Not really. Just looking forward to Revolution and Sting's last match, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Might be live tweeting during it. Not really sure. I've got family coming in town this weekend, so I'm not sure how much I'll be able to catch live, but I'll definitely have my finger on the pulse as it's happening.
Of course you will. Andy will. I will not.
I'll keep Chris updated on
but
what's
Andy
happening.
will keep me updated. We'll talk about it next Tuesday. Jared will be back. Andy will be back. It'll be another loaded show. Make sure you're subscribed. Come back and join us. For Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been Squared Circle Radio. We'll catch you guys down the road.